Good.
Good morning. My name is Zach Robertson here at Edgebrook Covenant Church, and I am the volunteer leader of the Missions Outreach and Evangelism team. Here this morning, I am with Brent from Top of the Lake Coffee, which has been a common fundraiser for us at Edgebrook Covenant Church. Brent, you're live with us from Colorado?
Yes, I'm in the town of Berthoud, Colorado, which is north of Denver, about 40 minutes or so. If you're familiar with the state, it's about 20 minutes south of Fort Collins, but it's where I roast coffee. You can see my coffee roaster is behind me, and this is where I process the coffee and spend a lot of days dreaming of the flavor and aroma of coffee. It works well for me. So
awesome. So, yeah, I guess going off that, can you introduce yourself for our congregation?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Brent Bromstrup. I have been working with Top of the Lake Coffee about 6 or 7 years. I was a covenant pastor for many years, worked for a Christian company, and about 6 or 7 years ago, my son-in-law, Alex Velasco, who's a covenant merge missionary, we just kind of collaborated to go to a village in Guatemala, talk about God's kingdom and how we might engage with need that is outside of our comfort zone. And that's when we decided coffee would be a good way to leverage the economics of coffee to come alongside organizations and businesses and schools in Guatemala. So been doing that for about 6 or 7 years.
Awesome. So I guess you came to mind in this time of pandemic as someone who you've supported our merge fundraisers, and through those fundraisers, we've supported Top Lake and the ministry that you're with in Guatemala. So how has this coronavirus affected you and affected your company?
Oh man, thanks. That's a great question, and sort of difficult to answer in some ways. Just before everything was shut down for coronavirus, I was in Guatemala with my son-in-law Alex and a grandson and another friend of mine, and we were just kind of visiting with the partners that we had in town, and made some great connections with individual coffee farmers, and we're really pleased to discover ways that we could be more direct in purchasing from farmers and get their coffee spread out. And about a week after returning from Guatemala, everything shut down here. And, we have a lot of wholesale customers. There's college coffee shops and restaurants and a lot of different places that purchase our coffee, and churches as well. And pretty much everyone stopped buying coffee, understandably. I mean, it's just everything in our world kind of shut down. And that made it a bit challenging. But what made it probably a little more devastating to me personally was just the knowledge that in Guatemala, first of all, the government just really doesn't, they're not really on the side of the people, in my impression. There's many good things they do, but here during this time, we've gotten an economic stimulus package. As individuals, I've been able to get loans, business loans, that helped us stay afloat. In Guatemala, there's no such thing available. And people work, they don't have paychecks, there's no steady jobs, there's no savings accounts. And for the most part, at least where we do our coffee, it's tourism that drives the economy, that and coffee. So coffee quit moving, everything shut down, like there was no commerce whatsoever, you couldn't move around the country in Guatemala. So all income stopped. People have really helped each other out, but we've somehow decided to respond out of the place of economic wellness that we have, because our government has really supported us economically. We've done some really fun things in Guatemala as a result. So rather than it being like this depressing, horrible time, even though sales have dropped dramatically, it's been fun to kind of interact with our friends in Guatemala, and we've helped start a couple of small businesses. We've done some kind of creative, fun things that have been some economic stimulus there. So here it's been tough, but we're surviving and kind of slowly gaining back some momentum. there, it's still just really, really hard for people, and we're still trying to find ways to really enhance what happens for people through our coffee. So
Yeah. So with all of that, I guess my next question would be, how can we, Etchbrook Covenant, as a church, best support you or the people in Guatemala
ah,
in this time?
well, man, that's a great and hard question. The fact that you sell our coffee for fundraising, I think, is a wonderful thing, because it's a kind of there's a lot goes in a lot of different directions. Youth ministry or missions receives a good shot of money through that, and it keeps us moving forward with our, making our payments for rent and, all the things that we have to cover. And there's still a trickle that's possible to go back to Guatemala. And so there's a lot of things that happen when people use our coffee for fundraising. And so when you've been able to do that, that's been great. And prayer just for wisdom and creativity on the front of interacting with farmers, especially in Guatemala, and finding ways to be creative to fund more support for them is really helpful. And yeah, just prayer for people around the world. But the ones I'm most familiar with are people that have discovered the strength of their community, and that's been encouraging to them. But I usually never get people asking for money directly that I know in Guatemala. Now it's fairly common to get those kinds of requests, and it's hard. Our philosophy is not to give money. Like, we don't want to create a codependency. So, that's why we say, hey, we'll help you start a business, and we start that process. So that's been, so anyway, prayer for discernment and wisdom and all those things
Yeah,
is really
definitely.
helpful. So thank you for asking.
I guess my last question for you would be, looking forward, moving forward, how would someone be able to stay in touch with you? Or do you have a newsletter? Or how can people stay updated with Top of the Lake Coffee and your community ministry partners in Guatemala?
Thanks. That's also a good question. We should have a newsletter, and we're set up, and I'm hoping to get that moving. We're kind of reorganizing and kind of restructuring what we're doing, but ideally we will have a newsletter. You can sign up for a newsletter with us on our website, which is topoftheLakeCoffee.com. But probably the most active place is Facebook, Top of the Lake Coffee Roaster Facebook, and we're also Top of the Lake Coffee Roaster on Instagram. So we try to post updates and live videos with our partners there, and so just kind of connecting with us through Facebook and Instagram is probably the most consistent way you'll hear news from us. But we do aspire to get a newsletter consistently out there. So if you do sign up, we will do our best to get that happening more. So
awesome. Well, thanks for taking these few minutes, Brent, to hop on a Zoom call with me. We appreciate all that you're doing. We appreciate the coffee. I know for me, as a non-coffee drinker, Top of the Lake Coffee is one of the rare coffees that I found, like, oh, this is actually like decent.
Oh, good. Well, that's good praise. Yeah, thank you.
Your coffee, and the work that your company is doing in Guatemala. So thanks again for hopping on this call with us.
Oh, Zach, thank you so much. And thank you for the ways that you've supported us in the past. And even just this encouraging conversation is wonderful. So I appreciate that as well. And I will hope and pray that all goes well for you and for the church as well.
Great.
So thank you so much. You bet. Thank you.